And good morning, everybody. Welcome to Chalk Talk. I'm your host, Kim Davis. Happy Tuesday. We are live in Houston, Texas. It is the middle of April. Yesterday was tax day, in case somehow you guys forgot about that. If you didn't get it done, you better file. You better get it done. If they owe you money, you'll be okay. If you owe them money, they're going to charge you interest. Anyway, don't know why I started the show with that, but welcome, welcome, welcome. As always, super excited about today's show and that each of you has decided to tune in. Hello, hello to those of you who are joining me live and those of you who watch on the replay. I appreciate you being a part of the Chalk Talk family as well. A few things on today's show. I am really glad. I'm really looking forward to speaking with Sheryl Swoopes for a number of reasons. You know, I've known Sheryl for years, had a chance to cover her in the WNBA. I was actually a part of the Houston Comets broadcast team for two of the seasons that they won championships. So I've known Sheryl since back in her WNBA days, and it's great to see her still thriving. A couple of things happening for Sheryl this week. Tomorrow, she will be inducted into the Houston Sports Awards Hall of Fame. And then later this weekend, she's going to be participating in a celebrity dodgeball competition. We talked about that on the show last year. It's to raise money for charities. And so she's one of the team captains. The other team captains, recently retired Whitney Merciless, of course, spent most of his career with the Houston Texans, and the end of last season, middle to end of last season, he finished with the Green Bay Packers, but we're just going to go ahead and call him a Houston Texan. Justin Reed, who has spent his first few years in the league as a Texan and is now with the Kansas City Chiefs, and Chester Pitts, who is, of course, considered the original Texan for his time with the Houston Texans. They're all team captains, and the competition is this weekend. I won't be able to be there to see it. I'm going to tell you why a little bit later in the show. But so Sheryl is a team captain, and we're going to talk about all of that with her, what's happening in her career when she joins us at the bottom of the hour. So looking forward to having Sheryl join us on today's show. She was also honored by Essence. I believe it was in February, if not March. I think it was February, but she is a Naismith Memorial Hall of Fame member. So quite a few accomplishments for Sheryl Swoopes. Looking forward to visiting with her on Chalk Talk and for you to get a chance to hear from her as well. So yesterday, the Houston Astros had their home opener. Now the season opened back on April the 7th, and so they opened on the road. So after being in spring training, delayed start to spring training, then they got started, finished spring training. When the lockout was over, they started when the lockout was over, had an abbreviated spring training. Then they started their season, the Astros did, on the road, and just got back to Houston really late Sunday night for the home opener on Monday, where they faced the Los Angeles Angels. So last night they played the Angels at the Juice Box in Minute Maid Park. They won that game 8-3. And so they did have some offense. Of course, they got some help from the Los Angeles Angels pitching. There were some runs walked in, some walks. I guess that was about the fourth or the fifth inning. There was a fourth inning, and two runs actually were walked in. They scored on two walks They scored runs on two walks. I can get this out. And so, hey, listen, the offense is coming around. One of the things that Dusty Baker talked about before the game yesterday in his pregame kind of meeting with the media, he said, I told you guys early on, the offense might be slow, but it will come because of the abbreviated spring training. And you may say, well, Kim, everybody had an abbreviated spring training, and you're absolutely right. But what Dusty said is that they didn't get as many at bats. He said we had to make a choice, right? We had to choose, either select giving them more at bats or focusing on conditioning and health. And they chose to focus on, the Astros chose to focus on conditioning and health. They thought that would be better for the long run in terms of how they will proceed. It's a long season. I mean, we know that it is April now, and although the season started a little bit late, It seems like it just ended because the team I cover, the Astros, were in the World Series, so they finished in November, right? It's April. They did get to spring training in March instead of like February, but so there's not a lot of off season for baseball if if you're in a playoff team, especially if you go deep in the playoffs. And like the Astros did, you go on into the World Series. So being having the right conditioning, making sure your team is healthy is super, super important, because this is a 162 game season, regular season games, not spring training, not postseason. So they're just getting started and they're playing for the long haul, because the goal for this team is to win another ALCS, because they've won 5, or to get to another ALCS. They've won 3. They won 1 World Series. They lost in 2022 to, of course, 2021 to the Braves. But the hope is that they'll get back there again this year, and they'll be in the hunt. They're definitely going to be their team to watch and be in consideration. And it's really about how healthy they can be. Another thing that Dusty talked about was getting Yordan Alvarez back, right? Because he was on the COVID list. Having him back and, hoping that he, was ready. Well, last night he looked ready, right? He swung that bat and he swung it well, and you're like, okay, Yordan, we see you, Alvarez. So the Astros had a great start to their first home stand as they beat the LA Angels 8-3. So that's a great way to get started. They had 9 hits last night. Let me see. Luis Garcia was the winning pitcher. He came in and pitched 1 inning. He's 1-0. He pitched 5.2 innings and gave up 3 runs, threw 7 strikeouts, and 1 walk. So, pretty good night. In terms of the stat leaders in last night's game, Yordan Alvarez for the Astros, and pitching, Alvarez had 3 hits. Of course, he had 4 RBI because he did drive a couple deep. So it was good for the Astros to get a win last night. It's early, and so if we talk about what are the standings, let me look at that for you. Last night. So the standings: the Astros are 6-4 in the American League West. The Angels are 6-5. The Oakland 6-5. Seattle's 5-5, and then the Texas Rangers are rounding out the bottom at 2-7. I just had to say that. So listen, it's early, right? It's early in the season. Toronto has 6-4 in the East, and then in the Central, the Chicago White Sox are 6-4. And for those of you who are wondering how those Minnesota Twins are doing with with Correa, they are 4-6. Again, it's really, really early, so no need to get too bent out of shape about standings, but you don't want to dig yourself in a hole early. The key is being healthy. Here's the thing about the Astros win last night that we don't know, we'll probably know more today, is toward the end of the game, Jose Altuve pulled up. It looked like he may have pulled a hamstring or something. All you can do is, right now it's day to day. They're going to, of course, do some examinations and I'm sure an MRI and all that good stuff. Your hope is that it's not serious. And, pardon me, you hope that it's not serious, that he will be okay, right? Because he's a big part of what they do, or what they're doing. So that's a little bit of an update on those Houston Astros. I said I'd let you hear from Dusty Baker. Spoke to Dusty before the game just about being back home. And here is Dusty. And he had on cowboy boots. He wanted you all to know that he's got some cowboy boots, and he didn't have his hat on because, he has, it didn't match or something, but he was wearing cowboy boots yesterday. Here's Dusty Baker talking about how good it is to be back.
I haven't been here in a long time. Seems like forever. I was in spring training for a long time, then we're on the road. It felt great to, get back to town here. And just hoping have, plenty of energy because we got back late last night, and we still got to unpack, got to move in, not only our lockers, but get our housing together, cars together. The scheduling kind of didn't favor us early. I mean, it did before the lockout, but after the lockout, then sort of affected us adversely. But my guys are happy to be home and be with their families and be with our fans.
Be with the fans and also to be with their families. Like you said, 9 games before your first home game. It's different, but listen, the Astros are built for it, and they got off to a great start last night. Before Sheryl joins us, I also want to talk a little bit about the other thing that's happening right now is the NBA playoffs. And somebody asked me, who do you think's going to win? I was doing someone's show the other day. So I said the Phoenix Sun. Of course, part of that is that's who I'd like to see win. I'm really pulling for the Sun. I like the coach. I actually like Chris Paul, and I just like to see him get a chip. And here's what's interesting: just the Chris Paul story in general, how he talks about, he's had this great career to this point. But the thing that's missing, obviously, is winning a championship. Last year, they got to the finals and lost to the Milwaukee Bucks, a better Milwaukee Bucks team, because what do you really do with Giannis, right? He was playing amazing basketball, and so it was a tall order that the Phoenix Suns would go in there, and it's tough to match up. Giannis is a tough matchup guy, right? And so, but the Phoenix Sun are, finished the season best in the West, the number 1 seed in the West, best record, and excuse me, and they are they're playing the Pelicans in the first round. The Pelicans are the 8th seed in the West, and I'm just gonna kind of give you an NBA playoff update on where we are today. Over the weekend, let's see where we started. All right. The Hornet. No. That's playing. We want to get to the regular season. Okay, so there were a lot of games over the weekend. So the Mavericks and the Jazz are playing. The Jazz, of course, have the 5th seed, and the Mavericks are 4. And right now, that series is tied at 1 game apiece. The Mavericks won last night. They're playing in Dallas. That final was 110-104. It was quite a game for the Dallas Mavericks. Jalen Brunson had quite a night. He scored 40 points with no turnovers. It looked pretty good. The 76ers are 2-0 over the Toronto Raptors. They're playing in Philadelphia. That series now moves on the road, and they will go play at Toronto. The Nuggets and the Warriors last night. The Warriors are the 3 seed, and there were some who questioned how good this Warriors team could do in postseason just because they kind of limped a little bit toward the end of the season. They were a little banged up, but they were just dominant last night. They defeated the Nuggets 126-106, right? And they are up 2-0 in that series, 2-0 in that series. Games today, the Hawks and the Heat play in Miami. The Heat won the first game, so it's 1-0 Heat in that series. The Timberwolves and the Grizzlies will meet. The T-Wolves won the first game. We talked last week about the Timberwolves after they defeated the Clippers to get into the main draw, if you will, of the playoffs, and how much the Timberwolves were celebrating. Mostly Pat Beverly, who many of us know if you've been a Rockets fan, or if you followed the Rockets. He was a Rocket, and then went to the Clippers, and then I think he went to the Grizzlies. Anyway, he's with the Timberwolves, and so they get quite a bit of celebrating when the T-Wolves won the play-in game, but also they hadn't won a playoff game or been to the playoffs in quite some time, and so they're the 7th seed in the West. They're facing the Memphis Grizzlies, the 2 seed. They won the first game, and they're playing in Memphis. Game 2 is tonight also in Memphis. And the Pelicans and the Sun, as I mentioned, the Suns are the top seed in the West. The Pelicans are 8. I like the Pelicans team. They just don't have enough to offset what you're going to get from the Phoenix Sun, right? So I'm not only because I've picked the Phoenix Suns to win it, and that I've picked them and I'm pulling for them. It's just a tall order for that young New Orleans Pelican team, but they are. They're going to be something to watch in the future. On Sunday night was game 1, and Phoenix won that game 110-99. Of course, game 2 is tonight. There are 3 games on the NBA schedule for tonight. So we are, full speed ahead in this NBA playoff postseason. All right. So, yes, that is where we are in terms of the NBA. Full slate. There's 17 Major League Baseball games today. The Astros are again hosting the Los Angeles Angels, game 2 of that homestand. And the other thing we have going on, I know you guys are wondering, what's happening in the National Football League, right? We're about a week away from the from the NFL draft, the 2022 NFL draft, right? And here's another thing. I hope to get some sound from it, but I will tell you that there was an interview on Monday with Colin Kaepernick, a rare interview with someone from, I think, is it Yahoo? And so it's been years since Colin has actually sat down for an interview, an on-the-record interview about the NFL. And so it's the show was called I Am Athlete, and they got him on after he was recently in Miami for a workout. He sat down with host Adam Ocho Cinco Johnson, Pac-Man Jones, and Brandon Marshall, and for a brief talk that had quite a bit of punch in it, and really disputing a lot of what he says are lies that have been spread about him over the last several years, right? Since he took the knee. Was it back in 2016? So he's been traveling a lot lately, working out. You've heard me talk about it here. He was in Houston a few weeks ago. I flat out asked Casario, like, are you guys looking at him? And he said, we didn't even know he was in town. I think he's just going around. He still wants a shot to play. He still wants a shot to say. He said, first and foremost, he's willing to sign with the team as a backup quarterback, because one of the criticisms about him had been, or actually the narrative about him was, who's going to bring him in as a starter? He's been out of the game, out of the league for 5-6 years, and he won't sign as a backup. Well, he said, first and foremost, without hesitation, he's willing to sign with the team as a backup quarterback. That's one of the most unrepeated untruths about what he would or wouldn't do to get another chance. So he said, I know I have to find my way back, so if I have to come as a backup, that's fine, but that's not where I'm staying. When I prove that I'm a starter, I want to step onto the field as much. Now, he's 34 years old, which is not old, especially because he's been away from the game for a while in terms of his body and taking the banging. And he said, hey, he just wants a chance to come in and to compete, all right? One of the things that one of the hosts Marshall brought up about was the other narrative is how much of a distraction Kaepernick would be if in fact a team signed him, and that it's a $16 billion industry, and what is a team supposed to say to its fan base if it signs Kaepernick? So what was unsaid, and what is almost always unsaid when that comes up, is that the NFL fan base, like the words, we've heard it, Midwest voter or rural, is kind of a euphemism for conservatism, right? That's what they mean, because many of you you're listening to this show, many of you were, if you're not still, a part of the NFL fan base. So the fan base is also very diverse and should be treated as such. So, that's interesting, right? Let me see some other responses that he made. Uh, wow. And so it went on. The story goes on to talk about the league who wants to appease at this point gestures toward the annual and failed tinkerings of the Rooney Rule, and we know all about that, right? We know all about the Rooney Rule and what it's supposed to do, and how it's clearly fallen short and come under some major criticism, especially this offseason with Brian Flores filing his lawsuit, having now some other coaches, former coaches that have joined that lawsuit, the conversation that it continues to stir up and inspire. And so he's, the inspiration that Kaepernick provides to black fans is something that I think is overlooked. So when you talk about the NFL fan base, not that every single black person, because I'm really big on saying we are not a monolith, has the absolute same thoughts and feelings about anything. But for many, he has proven that he is an inspiration for the sheer reason that he took the stand or took the knee to make a stand for something that he really believed in. And so that while they want to call it disruptive, I've always maintained it was only disruptive because the league made it disruptive. His behavior really, really was not. Okay. So, he says you have in racism in the back of your end zones. You got Black Lives Matter on your helmet. Everything I've said should be in alignment with what you're saying publicly. So how is he a distraction? Because he's right. Everything should be in alignment. You're saying in racism. You're saying you've got it written in your end zones. You've got the on the helmets it says Black Lives Matter. So how is it that he is a disruption? A distraction, and that you have to explain it to the fan base. Those are the same things that he said. Those are the reasons he took a knee. It's because of racism. It's because he believes and supports Black Lives Matter. It's just really, kind of crazy. He said this. He said, it's a $16 billion business. When I first took a knee, my jersey went to number one. When I did the deal with Nike, their value increased by $6 billion. That's billion with a B. So if you're talking about the business side, it makes sense. If you're talking about the playing side, let me compete. You can evaluate me there. So listen, that's a perfect response, right? If you're talking about it's hidden as a business person, they're about the brand. His jersey did go to number one. Nike increased their value when they did that deal with him. So it was interesting. It was good to hear from him finally. And that was good to hear him respond to some of the criticisms. And I get why he would do that podcast and talk to players, people he feels like he can have some that they would understand more where he's coming from, and there's a level of trust. And I still hold out hope that at some point I get a chance to talk to him, but he hasn't done much press, and I was glad to see him do that. It was a rare interview, and I think the key things to know is he still wants to play. He feels like, listen, let me compete. I will absolutely, without hesitation, sign as a backup. I just want an opportunity. Do I want to be a starter again? Absolutely, I want to be. I think I'm good enough to be a starter, but I'll come in and be a backup and earn that starting job. I'm willing to earn it. He's not saying that you got to give it to him. So those are some of the myths, rumors that people have that have been spread about Colin Kaepernick. It was good to hear him on the record for himself talk about where he is, right? So good morning, everybody. I'm just looking at a couple things. Cheryl's going to be joining us shortly. A couple of things happening around the National Football League, right? As they get ready for the NFL draft next week. Last week, before I get to maybe what's happening with the draft, went over to Texas Southern University for the announcement of the Texas Southern, the TSU and the Houston Texans partnership. They have signed a partnership. The the Texans are going to be supporting TSU in a number of ways. They're going to support them, help them with facilities, as that's a financial investment. I don't know the amount of that investment. Help to upgrade their facilities. They're going to offer some professional development for students and also for staff. They are going to provide some paid internships for students in the organization. They're going to also provide scholarships for female athletes. I think it's 5 scholarships a year at this point at $5,000 each for female athletes. And I even heard while I was there them talk about the game day experience. Maybe they could, offer some input because Texas Southern is looking to upgrade their game day experience. And there are probably other things, but those are the key things I took away from the partnership. And so here's the thing, and I'm just going, we keep it 100 right here on the show. In all transparency, yeah, the Houston Texans are probably doing more than they would because they got themselves in a bit of a situation. Okay, we know that. We know that them about to hire Josh McCown because they were going to hire Josh. Then the Brian Flores lawsuit happened, and they failed up, is what I say, and they hired Lovie Smith. That was not their intention. He had not even been mentioned as a candidate. That's no slight on him. It wasn't my decision. That was that was their decision. Of course, now the narrative is that they've been talking to him all along. Whatever. He's a head coach. So, and I've said all along, I don't think the NFL said you've got to hire a black coach. I don't believe that. I do believe the NFL probably gave him a call and said, yo, you can't be serious about hiring this dude that has as much NFL coaching experience as Kim Davis. Right? Okay, they may have not said my name, but I just don't think it wasn't a good look for the Texans, and it was definitely not going to be a good look for the league. And so Lovie Smith is your head coach, right? I don't think it was that he was really who was available, and it actually worked out for them because it has gotten some people that in terms of staff, who are willing to stay or come here, and players who are saying yes because of Coach Lovie, that I wanted to be a part of what they're doing here. I'm probably most excited about Pep Hamilton as the offensive coordinator. Pep Hamilton, I think, has a bright future in the National Football League. I hope that he does well with what he's given, and so that he's here long enough to where they get some real talent for him to work with, because let's admit it, this Texans roster still isn't very good, and we don't know how good Davis Mills is going to be, right? We don't know. We will see. Time, as they say, will tell. But so that Pep Hamilton gets his chance to be a head coach in the National Football League. But at any rate, so the Texans are doing a partnership with Texas Southern University. Listen, it's a win-win, right? I always say, what it is that gets people to the table to ultimately do the right thing doesn't really matter to me. If TSU benefits, the Texans benefit, that's great, but TSU gets something out of it too. And I think we got to look at the end game, right? So I had somebody say to me last week when I was posting some things about that partnership, like, why would TSU do that with them? Because it benefits them and their students and their programs. Why wouldn't they do it, right? You've got to think about big picture and end game. So if they're going to have better facilities, some scholarships for female athletes, some paid internships for students, that's experience, those are jobs, right? They're internships, but they go on their resume as jobs, and it's experience and a chance for those students to build some relationships, some professional development with staff, and maybe even helping with things like game day experience. I think it's a no-brainer. Like, of course TSU should do it. Come on, guys, we've got to be smarter and think more about the big picture. So congratulations to Texas Southern University and to the Texans, because listen, Cal McNair and Hannah were right over there last week in the Trey. I don't know how often he's been to TSU, but he was there last week, and they brought some of their players current. They brought some, we had some of the legends, like Andre Johnson was there in the house. Chester Pitts was there. I think I saw maybe Wade Smith, but of course Titus Howard is there because he Titus came from SWAC. He came from HBCU. So, supporting this kind of a partnership is just a win-win. It's just a good thing. And I just am glad that I'm just glad that they got it done, right? So let me just say this, a couple of things. So I am traveling over the next couple of weeks. I'm going to be in Africa. It'll be my first trip to the continent. I'm going to Ghana. And so I will probably put up some shows, but they'll be recorded because I'm going to be honest with you. And I'll do a few things. I've got to take my laptop. I don't quite have the luxury of being away from work for 2 weeks because I, of course, work for myself. And so there's some things I have to get done. So I'll be doing some work from Africa, but I'll also still be active on my platforms. And you won't see Chalk Talk quite in this format. Yeah, I will probably post some things. I'll definitely post some things on all of my platforms. And then I'll do really a wrap show when I get back. I may do something from there, but I just wanted to give you a heads up. I'm not gone, but I won't have the traditional Chalk Talk show over the next 2 weeks because I'll be traveling. Going to Accra, we'll spend some time in Accra. We'll also go to Cape Coast, to the point of no return, where the slave ships would come. I'm going to do that tour. I hear it's an incredible experience. It's really emotional. Going to the W.E.B. Du Bois Museum. I'm really excited about that. And some other museums visits. Going also to spend some time in Kumasi. And we'll participate in a naming ceremony with some of the elders. So I don't really know. I've seen a very short video of what that entails. But so my sisters jokingly said, "So you're not going to be Kim when you come back?" I'm still going to be Kim, but I thought if I'm going to go to the motherland, let me experience as much of what the authentic things that happen in Ghana as I can. So I will be gone for the next 2 Tuesdays, and then I'll be back, but I'll still be present, and you will all still be hearing from me. So I appreciate you, and I also appreciate you sharing this video wherever you are watching. If you are watching on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, if you will please do share the video, I appreciate that. Good morning, everybody. And I mentioned last week that I'm going to be moving the show exclusively to YouTube, the live show, and I'll do some clips on all the other platforms. Originally, I told you the date was going to be June the 4th. Well, I'm going to move that back since I'm traveling to Ghana for a couple of weeks. I'm going to move it, and probably it'll be the end of May or maybe the first week in June, because I want to make sure that you don't expect to see me one day, other than, of course, the next 2 weeks, I'm traveling, and then I'm just gone, except for those of you who watch on YouTube. But I am moving the show, the live version of the show, if you will, to YouTube, just because, just from a promotional and a business standpoint. So I want to do that. I see that we have somebody who's new. Thank you, Sheila, for being a part of the show. She says, "I'm a Nuggets fan, but looks like they're slowly getting squished like a bug. Painful to watch." Yeah, the Nuggets looks like they have. They ran into a Warrior team that started off looking like the Warrior team did early in the season, right? It's what we kind of thought. And so the Nuggets are missing a couple of players. But, the Warriors have just been really, really good so far. Chef thinks that Cap might be a minimal distraction. And here's what I think. I think that we're always looking for a story. Colleagues of mine, my approach to the business is a little bit different. I also have the luxury of being different because I am my editor-in-chief. I'm still a journalist, right? I still am a journalist, but I don't have to do what everybody else is doing in terms of what they do for stories. And so I don't know that. So initially, I think when he first comes back, there'll be a lot of focus on Cap, right? I don't think it's going to be a sustained distraction, because at the end of the day, people care about teams winning. So let me ask you this. If you think Cap's going to be a distraction, is Deshaun Watson going to be a distraction in Cleveland? I think that may be one that hovers a little longer. than probably Kaepernick. And I'm not, you know, two very different situations. But Kevin says, "What did Cap do that something has to be explained to a fan base?" I think you're right. Especially, y'all realize that was 2016, right? We're 2022. So much has happened over the past 6 years. I mean, the NFL is, as he mentioned, they're putting in racism in their end zones. They're wearing little decals that say Black Lives Matter. Those are the things that's why Cap took a knee. So the whole narrative about he could damage the brand, what are fans going to think, that came from owners. That came from the conservative base of the NFL, right? That came from that group, because no one's saying, and I'm not saying it, but just be, we are very familiar with the Deshaun Watson situation and story. Is there some clamoring of a conversation about what he needs to explain to fan bases? There is not. There is not anything that is. There's not anything that is. I don't think he has to explain anything, I guess is my point. So I don't think that he has to explain anything, and I just think that the owners dug their heels in. And now a lot of the narrative around conversations about racism and Black Lives Matter has changed post George Floyd, let's be honest. But they're stubborn. And they dug their heels in back in 2016. And until the owners change, nothing else will as it relates to Kaepernick. That's really about the owners and people who think like them. And the owners are a bunch of, for the most part, old white conservative dudes. That's who they are. and they weren't having it. So the NFL, I don't know that they vacillate. I think that, I think they do what works for them at the time. I mean, I think that they have missed the mark so many times. Kevin brings up a point, the Deshaun Watson story, all of the allegations, there are still those 22 cases out of alleged sexual misconduct and assault. And he got this record new contract of guaranteed money, but taking a knee gets you banned. I mean, there's something wrong with that, guys. I mean, if that's where we are, if that's where we still are, that's a problem. And I think that I'm going to keep talking about it, and which is one of the things. And I had one of you reach out to me recently and say, why don't you try to get on with one of the local stations? And so I don't talk about this a whole lot. I mean, you can probably, I don't know, maybe in my LinkedIn page, I have a lot of my background. I don't have every single job I've had in media. But here's what having my own show, my own platform allows me to do, is to have these kind of conversations that I probably could have someplace else. I'd have to ask to have it, permission to have the conversation, and I'd have to, and probably would be told no most times, but they are important conversations to be had, right? And so I use my platform, still using all the principles of being a journalist in terms of being fair and objective and competent and prepared and all that good stuff. But, we have to call it what it is. We're okay. The NFL says it cares about women. And Deshaun's not the first. Deshaun is the most recent, and it was just so many cases that it just drew such attention. But you can go along and, he might get suspended for a year. We don't know yet what the NFL is going to do. But I think Sheryl is trying to get with us, so we'll see. Let me see. She's en route, so hopefully she'll be able to join us shortly. I just got an update from her team. So, but I just will always, the fact that Cap is saying something, it's kind of difficult to keep talking about someone it's not difficult to talk about it, but you can't speak for him, right? So it's good for him to speak for himself. It looks like, we feel like we know what's happening. It was just good for him to address it. And he mentioned it. You talk about the NFL being this big business and all this money. He addressed it head on. Look at how much money his jersey went to number one, right? That's what was people making a statement. They're saying we support this action that he's taking. Nike, of course, made this. He was already involved with Nike, but Nike started doing those spots. Nike's value increased by $6 billion, and that's B with a 6 billion with a B. So if you're talking about the business of it, the NFL would be doing good business if they allow Kaepernick a shot back in the game. I'm just saying. And if he's not able to compete, let him compete. And if he doesn't, then move on, right? Then move on. So, yeah. Oh, Kevin says he'll host me while I'm gone. Okay. I don't know. But listen, I am, hopefully Sheryl Swoopes will be joining us shortly. Right. So you don't have to do something strange for a little piece of change because you're the. Wow. Okay. Editor in chief. Right. I don't have to do. Have to do something strange. You're right. I get a chance to be authentic and prepared, and to call out things as I see them. And here's the thing: although I'm very honest on this show, there's a lot of things that I don't call out. I mean, because it is still about using good judgment, running a business, and just because you run your own business doesn't mean you can just say anything, anytime about any. That's not necessarily smart. But as I'm working through what this book should really be, and it keeps kind of changing for me. I plan to do some writing while I'm in Africa. I will probably include some of the things that I don't usually talk about on the show. I've just kind of struggled with how much of what to share, because I never wanted to. Sharing stories and experiences is one thing. I never wanted to come across as though I am complaining, because I chose this path, and I knew full well all those years ago that it would be challenging. Now, what does get to be a little bit disappointing at this point in my journey is that I'm still having to fight those same battles I fought when I was just getting into the industry and didn't have any experience. So back then I would accept, well, you got to get more experience. And so now I have it. I have 30 years of it, right? I started when I was 12, remember? But I have 30 plus years of experience being a respected, credentialed member of the media, being a journalist, not being just a personality. Oftentimes there's different standards and guidelines that I still have many crazy battles to fight for access and just to be in the room. I mean, I'm still doing it. So it is. So yeah, he said Sheryl has a team because she's a Red Raider. That's right. Sheryl Swoopes played her collegiate basketball at Texas Tech, and of course Kevin, if you don't know, maybe he'll join us on the show one day, is also a Texas Tech Red Raider. She did some amazing things in collegiate basketball. When she joined the WNBA, she was highly touted, if you will. She had a child in her inaugural season and missed much of it, and came back and still was nothing short of amazing. And she also, I don't know if you guys remember this, but she was, I believe, the first woman to get her a shoe named after her. She got a basketball shoe named after her in a deal with Nike. So she's had quite an interesting career. There have been ups and downs. She did some coaching. She was coaching in Chicago, and she's done some television. And she is back in the Houston area, and is, as I mentioned, being inducted into the Houston Sports Awards Hall of Fame tomorrow. Normally I would be at that celebration, but at that point I would be on a flight to Ghana from DC, so I won't be there, but I'll see what they do online. I appreciate that. Yeah, let me tell you something. People, Zena, you guys know Zena Garrison is one of my friends, and we were talking. I shared something that happened at the Astros yesterday that I just had to was a little disappointed about it, and I really just Went in for pregame, talked to Dusty, and then I watched the game. I watched the game from home. I thought that was best for me yesterday. And so I was sharing what happened with Zena, and we talked about it. But this morning she woke up, she goes, you know what? I thought about that conversation, and she said 30 years later, after all that each of us has done, I mean, her and her career and her journey, that we're still having these fights for access with white men. Yeah. So anyway, I'll put a pin in that because I see that Sheryl is about to join us. She made her way, as I knew she would, because we can always count on Sheryl Swoopes, right? I told you, I've been knowing her from back in the day. So for those of you Red Raiders who joined for her, I'm going to bring her in. She is one of my all-time favorite. Good morning, Sheryl Swoopes. Thank you for being here, my friend.
Buenos dias.
Okay, so we're doing that today. Buenos dias, sis.
That's all I got. That's about all I got for you. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, I don't look as cute as you do. Let me try to get cute over here because you look adorable.
Oh, look at you. You're so kind. You're so kind.
I look
So
amazing.
listen, I was telling the people how long we've known each other from back in. I said, I actually was on the broadcast team. That's how I got to know Sheryl. I got to see her up close and personal, like daily, when she came in and was lighting the league on fire. So much has happened. We've talked over the years, but I want to first congratulate you on the Essence Award you received recently, and also on being inducted tomorrow into the Houston. Oh, so you can see, I understand. Look, I understand. The Houston Sports Awards Hall of Fame. Congratulations on those two honors. Naismith Hall of Fame, a lot of stuff, but well deserved. How are you with all this going on right now?
First of all, thank you for all of that. It's crazy. Like, life is crazy. My husband always tells me, you want to tell God a joke, tell him your plans, right? Because I had plans for my life, and God said, no, I got other plans. But extremely blessed, Kim. It's crazy because things just continue to come my way. Things continue to happen. I don't know. I'm good from a professional standpoint and everything that's going on for me personally. But mentally, I struggle every day like everybody else with just everything that's going on in the world. I try to stay positive and as they say, stay prayed up. And just try to take it one day at a time because it's life is just rough right now for everybody,
Right. It is rough. Tell us, what are you doing other than all the honors we talked about? I know that this weekend that you are one of the captains in the celebrity dodgeball competition. So I know that last year all the captains were men. So I was like, go Sheryl. And I would love to be there. I'm actually leaving tomorrow. I'm going to be going to Ghana for 2 weeks. So I'm going to miss you being inducted at the Sports Awards. But I hope that we can connect when I get back.
How dare you? You mean Ghana was a little bit more important than this?
Yeah, it was already planned, so yeah.
I'm jealous, actually. I need to be on that trip.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something. I have a few friends that I've shared it with, and they're like, "We should go again." So I'm working to put together a group to go in the future. So to go back.
Include me in that group. Seriously,
I absolutely will.
I want to go.
I absolutely will.
But anyway, so yeah, you know what, Kim? It's like this week is just kind of crazy busy for me, but it's all great stuff. Super excited about the induction tomorrow night. I'm a huge fan of Roger Clemens and Clyde the Glide. I just think it's super cool that it's, the theme is 22. We're all number 22. It's the year 2022. There's a lot of excitement around it and just excited for it. Extremely honored. And then you add in the dodgeball game on Saturday. So when Tamara called me, I was like, who, what is it? I had to kind of go back to my childhood days and remember what I signed up for when you're talking about dodgeball.
Dodgeball. I was like, okay, right?
And these are football players, right? but you know me, the competitor in me was like, okay, I got to
Absolutely.
go hold it down for the women, right? I'm excited about it actually, but when I started thinking about my team, right, I was
Who
like,
is on your team? Tell us.
I'm not. Well, listen. So, and I told Tamara this. A lot of my so-called celebrity friends, like, either they don't live here, or they
Right.
were like, "Girl, are you out of your mind?" Like, not playing. So, I actually have a lot of my friends and family. Jolanda Jones is playing on my team,
Of course, Yolanda would play. Of course,
right?
Yolanda would play.
I was able to convince her to play. But I also think it's not that she needs it, but I think it's really good for her to come out and, and be in the community and maybe be around some different people that don't really know,
Hmm.
don't really know her, right? And don't know her story, but I just think she'll be super cool. Um, so then I have just a lot of my friends, like from the hood. I got some people from the hood coming to play.
Oh, y'all gonna win.
Um, yeah, I got a couple of younger. They're not kids, but younger people on my team, right? So I don't know. Like, I'm just excited about it, and they've been talking a little smack through in our group text. So I'm good. I'll be ready. Now I am
Cheryl,
gonna
they
sub
don't know.
myself out. I'm gonna sub
Right.
myself out though.
Cheryl, they don't really know. They don't know what they dealing with. They don't understand.
Listen, that's just that's the competitor in me because I'm like y'all, and I don't even think I think maybe one of them has one female on their team. I think
Hmm.
so. Because of that, I was like, I need to go find some more women. So there will be a total of 4 women on my team,
Okay.
including myself. And the rest are just some good old people from the hood that
Let's
said,
go
let's
play some
let's
dodgeball,
go.
right?
Yeah, let's go. So I'm excited about it though. It'll be fun.
Before I get back to what else you have going on, like what is Sheryl Swoopes doing all the time now? How is your son?
How is my son?
Yes.
He's doing well. Kim, he's 24. He'll be
I cannot.
25.
I remember he was born. I cannot believe Jordan is 24.
It's crazy. He actually is currently, as we speak, on a plane. So he played in Portugal this year
Okay.
professionally. So he will be home today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's been there for 8 months. So I'm excited. He's coming home, but he's doing well. He's doing well. And
Hmm.
it's trying to figure out life, right? When COVID hit, it just not just him, right? There were so many of our young kids who none of us have lived through this, right? But when you look at our younger kids, they're all trying to figure out life. Like, what do I do now? And what happens? And how does this affect me? Um, his ultimate goal is to try to play in the league. And I'm fairly confident that he will get that opportunity. I just told him, son, you just gotta get your foot in the door, and going overseas is a good way to do that. But thank you for asking. He's doing really well.
That's good. I remember him. I know how he excelled growing up. He was always a great kid, and I know he had a good collegiate career. So I'm glad that he's doing well. What is it that keeps you busy every day? What are you doing? Are you just retiring and chilling? Are you making some magic happen? What you got going on?
I wish I could retire and chill.
Me
So
too.
chilling is not an option.
That's not an option.
So a few things. There are a few things. I currently work for Nike.
Okay.
I'm a product manager for Nike, so I get to work on a lot of gear, like just different product, not shoes, but bags and apparel that you see on college teams, NBA teams,
Okay.
athletes. I really enjoy it. And then the other side of that is I'm also doing some stuff for like the Jordan brand. I was out at the Jordan brand classic
Mm-hmm.
last week in Chicago, just trying to continue to mentor the younger kids. And besides that, the other thing that keeps me busy every day is my nonprofit. I have a nonprofit called Back to Our Roots. And so my husband and I, we grow our own vegetables. and we actually teach our kids how to do the same thing. And there's a little bit more that goes into the nonprofit, but when COVID hit, it kind of stopped everything, because the reason it's called Back to Our Roots is we're actually going to be taking a lot of our African American kids back to Africa, to Ghana,
Okay.
um, teach them about their ancestry and their heritage, and just to try and, honestly, Kim, just so our kids can know who they are and where we come from, because I don't think we're taught that
Mm,
enough in school. And to me, our kids need that. Our grown folks need it. I need it.
right.
And so
Right.
that's a big part of it, along with also teaching kids the importance of being able to grow your own food and understand sustainable living, and the importance of what's going in your food, because there's so much stuff in our food nowadays. That's honestly what keeps me busy every day, and what gives me so much peace is just being able to take a little seed and be able
Hmm.
to feed thousands of people. That's a big part of what I'm doing now.
I cannot wait to come out when I get back and see what you're doing, because I'm a foodie and I love fresh
You
produce,
got
and
an open
so
invitation, you know that.
I'm definitely going to come when I get back. I think that's amazing. Um, you know, my sisters get annoyed because I'm always talking about what's in the food we eat, and they laugh when they come to my house and they open the refrigerator. It looks like I'm feeding the neighborhood, but because I eat a lot of fresh produce, right? And
Absolutely.
it takes up more space, and so I have a little tower garden that I have on my little patio that I'm going to plant when I get back, which allows me to grow a few little things, because I don't, where I live, I don't have a yard. But I just think that's amazing. And if we can get the young people to do exactly what you said, it's going to help the adults because they all have parents.
Oh, for sure.
So,
And Kim, the other thing about it is we we actually grow our food in 5-gallon buckets. Like, we don't plant into the ground, and the reason for that is being able to show people exactly what you said. You don't have to have a lot of space. You don't have to necessarily have a yard. And you can still grow your own fruits, your own vegetables, your own food. It's just the commitment, right? It's the commitment, it's the studying, because I've never done this in my life. Um, but I just happen to be married to somebody that is a YouTuber and loves educating himself, right? And because of that, he teaches me, and we do it together. And I have to be honest with you, I never thought it was something I could do or something I would enjoy doing, but I get more satisfaction and peace
hmm,
out of doing what I'm doing now than I did when I was playing basketball.
really,
Mm.
that's amazing.
And I think, like, I loved what I did when I played basketball, but I think for me it's more about, I can honestly control more of what I'm doing now, more so than I could when I was playing. Right? Like, I could control me and my efforts and all that stuff, what I was doing on the court, but I couldn't control what was going on around me. I couldn't control how bad the refs were going to be. But it's been very satisfying for me.
So, how did you get started? I know you said your husband, you're able to learn a lot from him. What made you start the foundation, and what made you decide to have this as one of the key components?
So the interesting thing is that I've always had a foundation, even when I was playing ball. So my foundation is called Sheryl Swoopes Foundation for Youth, but
Mm-hmm.
we have a DBA that's called Back to Our Roots. And the reason why I decided to do it was, once I retired, I wanted to really be able to dedicate my time and energy to it versus just having my name on it, right? And having someone else be in control of running it day to day. Um, and it's crazy because we've only been doing this for 2 years now. We started it right before COVID hit, which is crazy because I don't think any of us knew that was going to happen. But um, I don't know. I look at our kids today, And there's so much I feel like they're missing. And it's not just about teaching them how to grow food, but the part of Back to Our Roots where we will do DNA testing. We will get a group of kids, we'll take them to Africa, and just the history of teaching our kids, honestly, like how strong and how powerful we are. Because I think our kids feel very differently today, right? Like trying to
Yeah, yeah.
figure out, do I belong? Where do I fit in? And I have nieces and nephews. I have a son, right?
Mm-hmm.
That struggle with that every day. And so for
Right.
me, it's always been about giving back and teaching our kids that they do matter. And this is just a small way that I felt like I could do that.
So, one of my dear friends, Rainice Edwards, just posted that she's involved with, there's an organization called the World Youth Foundation. It's been around for probably 25,
Mm.
30 years. And she says she'd love to have you come and speak to the kids. They meet on Saturdays. They do great work. I mean, they have all these kids are exposed to all kinds of information. So when we're off, I'll connect you with them. She said
Okay.
their kids have started learning about growing vegetables, but they do things. They had a 6 year old once, after one of the people came in, like create his own app. These kids go to the
Oh,
Congressional Black
wow.
Caucus, and Raynice connected me. It's been 32 years. So
Wow.
she wanted to. I'll make sure that I connect the two of you. And Kevin Walker, who is he also went to um, Texas Tech. He is a Raider. He played football there. I don't know if you guys were there at the same time or not, but he wants to know, how do you get involved with assisting with your organization? So if people want to be a part or help what you and your husband are doing, how do they do that?
Well, if you go to our website, which is btor.com, which stands for Back to Our Roots.
Okay.
Look, I'm like, let me make sure it's up and running.
All right. I was just going to put it in the chat.
And there's a lot of information on the site, just about what we do, but also there should be a form where they can fill out if they're interested in being a part.
Okay.
Let
I
me
will.
see.
I posted it in the chat, and then I also post it again on my platforms, because I think it's exciting, and so to connect you with Rainice, and also with Kevin, because you know, Zena and I were talking earlier. You know, she's had her foundation for over 30 years as well, and just being a part and doing the work, and now really trying to be able to take it to another level. You know, to be able to really engage young people, and for them to see people that look like them doing things, I think is important. It's great that there are
Yeah.
other entities doing stuff, but
Well,
they need to know
Kim,
that we can do it.
most of the time our kids are like, that's boring. Like they think something like that is boring until they actually see someone doing it, someone that they can connect with or someone that they can relate to. But it's not just about saying, here you go, here's a seed, go plant it. Like for
Right.
me, it's about
Right.
educating them and teaching them the process, right? So when they come out, we have a few different seeds, right? So they pick the seed and say, what do you want to plant? So we teach them how to do all of that. But we also give them a plant where they take it with them and then they keep giving us updates on how it's doing, because everything that we do is not perfect, right? We've had tons of failure throughout
Hmm.
the process, but for us it's about just teaching people every single day as much as we possibly can on the things we've done right, why it works, the things we've done wrong, why we change it. So I will say this too. So typically every Tuesday we release a video on YouTube, and our YouTube
Okay.
channel is called Back to Our Roots Homestead. And so on that, anybody that's listening, go subscribe. We need subscribers. But the point is, on that video, my husband's behind the scene, but it's me talking about, what we're doing, what we're growing, how we're doing it, why we're doing it. And it's an opportunity for people to ask questions, but we also ask questions because there are people out there who've probably been doing this a lot longer than we have, so we don't know everything. But for me, it's about continuing to interact with with the fans and interact with the community, but also continue to educate myself also.
Cool. So I put that in the chat as well. The YouTube channel is Back to Our Roots Homestead. Of course,
Yep.
this YouTube channel, I'm trying to also get people to subscribe because I'm going to be moving away from. I'm on YouTube now, but I'm going to, in probably the end of May, stop doing it on Facebook and just only be on YouTube for
Oh,
a number
wow.
of reasons. Yeah, and but I have to get the audience ready because I've been doing this show for 7 years, and this is where they expect to
Wow.
find it. So I got to give them time to get ready because there's some who are on YouTube now because we're on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and also Twitter. But I'm going to move it to YouTube exclusively and just put clips on the other platforms. So I am so glad that you are here. I know I can only imagine that you are super busy because you have a lot going on this week. I'm going to tell
Just this
people.
week.
Just this week, right? So the dodgeball event is Saturday from 1 to 4 at Pitch 25. That's at
Yeah.
2120 Walker. So you can, for those of you who are interested, I will also post the link where you can register in the chat. Individual tickets are $20 each. Kids 5 and under are free. So go out and support. It's a great event. And as I mentioned earlier, it's for charity. So when Sheryl wins,
Yeah.
whatever she wins, it's going to go toward her Back to Our Roots foundation. So you'll be supporting that because we're already going to claim that the Sheryl Swoopes team is going to win.
Yeah,
Okay?
I put that in the atmosphere.
Right. And I like the others. I know them all, Whitney and Justin and Chester, but we team Sheryl this week. Okay.
Okay, I like that. So can I just add a couple of things in case
Yes.
there are people who don't know? And I have a few notes here that I want to make sure I mention.
Okay.
So this is the second year for the event. Last year, I believe they raised over $60,000, and the goal this year is to raise 100,000. But there are 4 teams, and all team captains. We're all playing for our own nonprofit, our own charity. So as you said, funds that are raised, some of it will go to our charities.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Reed did win last year, which I'm coming for that trophy. You know, I'm
Right.
all about.
Right.
I gotta take them down. But you know, Kim, we joked about it being dodgeball, but for me, it's not even about what the sport is. It's about why we're doing it, right? For our nonprofit and being able to be in the community. And for me, and I know for the other fellas, it's all about us engaging with the community. Hopefully people will come out to watch and support and have a good time. It's a Saturday. You know, I don't get out much, but especially since COVID, I think a lot of us are like, what's going on? Where can we go? So this would be an incredible event to come to, bring your family and have a lot of fun on Saturday and cheer for Team Swoopes.
Cheer for Team Swoopes. Cheryl, before I let you go, I do have to ask you 2 quick basketball questions. So first, are you picking anybody in the NBA? Have you picked somebody, or are you just watching the playoffs? Do you have a favorite? I'm going to tell you, I'm going with the Suns. I've picked them, but I'm pulling for them just because of my affinity for Chris Paul, you know?
Okay. Yes, I am watching. Listen, let me say this, and this is my favorite team. I'm loving the Celtics Nets matchup right now.
Okay.
Like that game the other night was
Yeah. On a Sunday, that was, yeah.
So here's what I'm gonna say, and people in Houston probably won't like me much.
I already know.
Listen, it's hard for me to go against Steph Curry. If Steph is healthy or can stay healthy, and Draymond, even though you know people don't really like Draymond, I'll take Dre on my team all day.
All day long.
And Klay Thompson, all day. But I'll tell you who's really Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole is like, Steph who? I got this. I don't know. I'm a Golden State fan. I am. So.
Okay.
But you can't go wrong with the Suns either, Kim.
You can't go wrong. I mean, I love Steph Curry, so I'm with you on that. You can't go wrong. And I would have a Draymond. Everybody needs a Draymond on their team. You had to be excited to see Dawn Staley win her second championship, and just what she's been able to do at South Carolina has to make you proud.
Yeah. As you said, Dawn and I go way back to Olympics, and then when she played for the Comets for a year. Um, I got so much love and respect for her. But you know what? What I really, truly, genuinely love about Dawn is that she is just Dawn, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
she hasn't changed. She's real. She keeps it real, and like she represents for the culture. I just, I
Yeah.
love, I love how she takes her players and she allows her players to be who they are, but at the same time she knows how to bring them together and get the best out of them. I was there, celebrated with her, was so happy for her. And I think another one's coming because she is recruiting her butt off.
Listen, what she did on that stage when she said to the young women who don't get to play, she said, I want to make
Oh
sure
yeah,
you know them, right? Because
yeah.
they're the reason that we can do this. And she named them. I said, that's what leadership looks like.
Oh my, and I don't know if I've ever. I don't want to say no one's ever done it because someone's going to be like, yeah, they did. I've never
I
seen
don't
a coach.
recall seeing it. That's what I said. I
Yeah,
don't think, I haven't seen it.
I've never seen a coach in that moment do what she did. And I talk about that a lot, even with the Comets, when everybody talks about the big three, right? Like me, Koo,
Mm-hmm.
Tina. And I always say, but it's not just about us, right? It's those players who you don't know. It's those
Right.
players who don't play. It's those players who every day in practice, I got an Amaya Valdemaro, a Yolanda Moore guarding
Right?
me, right? And their defense is better than what I'm going to go against. It's those players that you don't see about, hear about, read about that makes the players you do see about better, right? And in that instance, I thought, to me, that was the highlight of the Final Four, right? Don talking
Yeah.
about them and mentioning them and making sure people understood how much they mean to the team also.
That's why she's done. And that's why they paying her the big bucks, right?
Because they are paying her some big ones.
They are paying her some big ones. All right,
Absolutely.
my friend. It's great to see you. I love you. I will reach out when I get back. I'm celebrating with you virtually over this next week because you deserve all of this
Okay.
and more.
I
And
appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
Holler
And
at me when
so
you get back. You got to come out.
I will come out. I will holler at you when I get back. Have a great time this week. I know you're going to look fabulous tomorrow. And so post some pictures so I can see what's happening from Africa.
Okay. Thank you. Love
All
you.
right. Love you too. Thank you so much, Cheryl. Talk to you soon. All right. That's Sheryl Swoopes, who joined us. We obviously went longer today because it's Sheryl Swoopes, and I don't get to talk to her very often. I'm going to do that more because we have a lot of history. I think it was Kevin who asked how you donate. I'm going to post it in on my page, but there's a link, and I will send the information because I think that they also have opportunities for people to donate. I will reach out to the organizer and make sure I'm giving you the right information on that. And I do want to say this: the other teams, the other charities represented, Whitney Merciless is representing the Whit Mercy Foundation. You've heard about that here on this program. He provides advocate services and support to families of children with disabilities and special needs. Justin Reed, of course, he's now with the Chiefs. His is supporting Reed Indeed. It's a charitable organization that focuses on equipping and funding disadvantaged youth and communities through programs. His big piece is technology. And Chester Pitts, leading the way for Carson Park. It's a long-term residential treatment center for girls ages 12 through 17 with serious severe emotional and behavioral problems from all backgrounds. And then, of course, Sheryl Swoopes playing for Back to Our Roots Foundation. You just heard all about that here. And there are quite a few different people, teammates of them all, who will be joining, playing. Pitch 25, $20 are the tickets. I will post when I get off. I'm going to call and find out where you can donate if you can't attend, so that you guys can support. It's a great event and it's a great cause. It's 4 different charities, and they'll all benefit from it. Their charities will all benefit, and so young people, all over will be supported by their efforts. So thank you all for hanging around longer today. I hope that you will remember to subscribe to my the Chalk Talk with Kim YouTube channel. Please make sure you go and subscribe to that. I am going to be moving the show exclusively to YouTube at the end of May. Since I'm traveling the next couple of weeks, I won't make the change right when I get back. I will be posting things from Ghana, but we will not have a Chalk Talk show quite like this the next 2 weeks. So just follow my platforms wherever you see me, and I'll give you updates on what's happening. I will still give you updates on things that are happening around the league after the draft, and anything else that you need to hear from me on, or you'd like to hear from me on. Let me say it that way. All right, everybody, remember, make sure that you're vaccinated and boosted. Make sure that you are registered to vote. It is super important. I think we're reminded almost daily how important it is. We need to be registered to vote. You need to pay attention, whatever part of the country you are in. Make sure you're paying attention to your elections, your local elections, not just the national elections. Presidential elections are important, but we got to get some folks out of them Senate seats. We need to make some changes in Congress, and we'll talk about that on coming shows, but there's just a lot that we need to do. All right. Thank you guys. Make it a great week. Remember, do something kind for yourself and do something kind for somebody else. All right. Take care, everybody. I'll see you next time.